day. So I'll get started with this concept of Bricsys 24/7. So you saw some of the functionality, the model server functionality in the BIM presentation, but Bricsys 24/7 is much more than that. This product has been around for a long time, over a decade, and was renamed to Chapeau in 2011. Now today we're changing the name of the product to Bricsys 24/7, and there's a reason for it. Because when you're working in BIM, you need to collaborate with people all around the country, all around the world. And you need to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And Eric has talked multiple times during this conference about the need for the cloud. Does it make sense to compute in the cloud? Maybe not the best thing for the user today. We have very powerful desktop machines we can use for those types of things. But more importantly, when we collaborate, there's no better platform than the cloud. Therefore, we've taken Chapeau, we've added the model server functionality and some great new commands and a beautiful new user interface, and we've rebranded this product as Bricsys 24/7 because that's exactly what it was designed to do, be available 24/7. So, if this product's been around for so long, why haven't you heard of it? Some of you have, especially if you're here in Europe. We're the #1 cloud-based project management software in Benelux. But that's just a small part of the world. But still, the projects that we manage today with this product are phenomenal. And so we want to talk about a couple of these customers. So the Brussels Airport is using Bricsys 24/7 today to manage a series of construction projects that they are working on to move towards a 2-decade vision that will take this airport from where it is today, a beautiful place to fly into, by the way, and turn it into a world hub to connect Europe to the rest of the world. They're using 24/7, and the beautiful thing about this product for them is the fact that unlimited projects and unlimited users allow them to work with different groups of individuals, different construction firms, different architectural firms, as they build out each of these individual projects. So this is a perfect use for 24/7 and its licensing scheme. Now, it's not often in any country that a new highway gets created. This is a very special highway here in Belgium, the A11, completed earlier this year. And the idea behind the A11 was to connect the port of Bruges with the ports of Antwerp and Ghent. And this allowed a direct path for vehicles to pass between those different ports. Now, this is a very special type of project because there are multiple levels of sign-off that have to happen on all of the construction documents. So for this project, each of the individual organizations that were participating uploaded their documents to a central server. They built custom forms in 24/7 that allowed them to add metadata to each of those approved documents and then release them to a master project server. So it was a multi-level project that allowed everyone to work together and still maintain all the legal requirements for this project. And then finally, the Port House of Antwerp, designed by Zaha Hadid. This is an amazing building, and the more that I read about this, the more that I realized how much effort the architects put into preserving the space and also reflecting the incredible history of this place. This construct on top, this glass construct, actually is a shade and part of the building that is over the top of an old fire station that has been there for hundreds of years. They had to maintain that historic space and at the same time wanted to present a modern approach. That cut glass facade on the top reflects Antwerp as the world's diamond capital. So just a very, very incredible architectural installation that had to take many different effects into play in the development of this project. Again, the ability to have unlimited projects and unlimited users, whereas storage becomes the variable in terms of the way that our customers sign up for Bricsys 24/7. So I could talk all day, you guys know that already, but I think I'd rather hand you over to Jürgen because he's ready to show you more about the project management functions of 24/7. Jürgen?
Thank you. So you have seen some of the BIM functionality in Chapeau, where you keep all your DWGs in a folder, and that altogether makes up a model. So it keeps track of which files are part of which version of the model, and you can browse the model as a complete building or slice it and see the data and so on. But there's much more in Bricsys 24/7 or the former Chapeau than just BIM. So you see here on the side, these are all the modules that are available. I can open that up and you see there's address books, calendars, message folders, and so on. So an important one, of course, is your structure. You can structure your project whatever you want by building phase, by subcontractor, so anything is possible. You can even change it at any time. If you're not happy with how the project is structured, you can change it at any time, and it's a cloud system, so anyone who's logged on immediately sees the updated version. I can just click on a folder and you see all the documents. So here you see not a BIM folder, but a document folder. So it's just a list of documents. Of course, these can also be linked together. You can have a PDF point to the Word version of the same document, things like that. But it will not consider these documents together as a whole, while in a model folder, it will see it all together as one big model. So you see the list of documents, and here at the end you see some numbers. We call that the document inspector. It shows you all kinds of extra information about these documents without you having to go over the list and open them one by one. You can hover over the numbers to see all the extra information. So in this case, this document is also available in 2 other places. It has a revision. There's some annotations and a note connected to it. It has a process running, a workflow. It has a link to another document. Of course, you can click on a document to see all the details. So there you have the same information, but in a more elaborate form. An important tab here is the communication tab. So that one consolidates all the communication that's been happening about that document. So you can see from the colors, it's the same ones you have here. There are some annotations, there's a note, there's some others that are notification, workflow comments, and so on. So if you want to review all the comments about that document, you don't have to go look in all these places to see all those different types of comments. You just have a chronological overview. You can see here someone made a remark in a workflow, there's a note, there's some annotations. All that information is available in one place. On the Info tab, you see, of course, all the information, but you also see that there's a little preview here of the document. You can click on that to go to a full-blown viewer of the document. So in this case, it's a DWG. I can zoom in to that and move around. And it doesn't matter how large the DWG file is. When it comes into our service, we convert it to our own format that is optimized for streaming. So once it's converted, it's basically sending back and forth images of what is needed for the current screen. So only if I move around, you see it will load extra pieces of information to make that sharp again. You see here at the bottom there's some tabs. We in Bricsys 24/7 call it views. That's the generic name, but in DWG that would be the model view and the different layouts. In an Excel file that would be sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and maybe there's other formats that have multiple views as well. And here you can have multiple pages. That's done for Word files, PDF files. So the viewer supports something like 70 file formats. That's everything from Office, Open Office, Visio files, MS Project files, DWG, plot files. So all current file formats that are used often are available in there. So you can place remarks or annotations within the viewer. So I can just select here at annotation. I just drag around an area and can put some remark here. There are some remarks here already from colleagues. I can see that here. I can just click on them. It will load the correct view, and I can review the remarks from my colleague. I can also print from this viewer. So I don't need the original software on my machine. So in case someone uploads an MS Project, for example, I don't have that on my machine. I can still view it in the browser. I can print it to take it along to a meeting, for example. I don't need to buy an MS Project license. So there's also a process link to this document. So what is that all about? Well, you can draw a process in the browser. So you just design a little diagram, and that's to automate processes that reoccur a lot within the company. A typical example that almost all our customers use is approving documents. So this is such an example where if you link this to a document, it will set the status to proposal because it's not yet approved. Then it will ask the architect and the designer to look at the document and approve it. If they do, it will automatically be changed to the status approved, and it will be moved to another place in the project. The idea here is that all the manual work of a document manager, keeping track of which files are approved, which ones are under review, and so on, and who has access to what, is all automated by this process, because by moving it to another location in the project, you automatically give access to other people that have access only in that location. You can see there's also loops possible, so you can ask for reworks, and it then gets status revised, and the process starts again. So what does that look like for an end user? The idea is that an end user does not need to know what a workflow is or how it works. He just needs to know, I have a task on this document. So that's why we just present him this dialog. He gets a mail that he has a task, he clicks on that link, and he arrives on this dialog. So what does this contain? Well, it shows it's about this document. If he wants to see it, well, he can click there as well and go to the viewer, maybe put some remarks of himself there, or you can go to the details. And next to that is the information about the task. So you see the task is, do you approve this document? And you have some options here. For the end user with this dialog, it's not presented that this is by a workflow, except for here at the bottom, there's some extra information that gives you more information about the workflow. But a simple end user could just say, okay, this document I approve, okay, that's it. You can also see the history, who has responded already, what did they respond. Or if you really want to see the workflow, you can go there as well. And then it will show you where we are in the project, in the process. So you see it's already been changed to proposal. There's a task assigned to someone else, so that's orange. And there's a task assigned to me. So I'm the architect here, and I need to approve this document. Another module we have is for storing data. It's basically a database, but we call it forms. So we don't want to scare users with things like SQL and queries and things like that. So we made a system to store data in forms, and by designing the form, it will automatically create a database in the background to store your information. So one example that I have here is to keep track of meetings. So you make some forms to store meetings, meeting attendees, meeting actions, and all these things can be linked together. So for example, here if I look at the meetings, I can see there was a conference demo, and I can see here at the back there's 7 linked records to this record, and if I hover over it, I can see there were 2 actions taken in that meeting, and there were 5 attendees. So all that information is linked together. Another way to use this is to provide extra information on your documents. So I've built a list of disciplines and other forms, and I want to link extra information to my documents. Where is that document in my project, and which discipline is it about? You can then set up the system so this extra information automatically becomes available if you are in a folder where it is linked to. Again, an end user does not have to know how this is set up. He just sees, oh, in this folder I have some extra information available. So if I go back to my folder structure and I look at a standard folder where I have a document name, who uploaded it, and some extra information, and then I go to another folder, and this one I know has the extra information. You see immediately here that I have the extra columns, site location, discipline, that's all just available. And you can change it if you really want the description available, for example, and you don't want the site location. You can change that, and the next time you come into this folder, it is remembered by the system. Of course, when the columns are available, you can use them to sort or filter or even search in the whole project. So if you're an external subcontractor, you just need the plan of the second floor electricity, and there's metadata available for that. Well, you go to the project-wide search function, you say, I need a document of type plan, discipline electricity, floor is 2, and it will give you the document no matter where it is in the project. As you can see here, this project is structured by building phase. So you have building application, execution, final design. Where we have now all this extra information available. Let me turn back on the site location. So you have extra data linked to your documents. You also have other forms that use the same kind of information. So why not provide a completely different view on the information based on the data, not on just the documents? So that's what we call relations, because it's based on the relations between all the data. And here you can see that I have a structure that is now being built based on data, not on documents. So it's, this project contains the same model as we saw in the BIM demo. So you have the buildings here, the admin building, daycare building, yoga studio, and you see the floors. And if I click one of the items, the system will search through all data available and show all extra information it has available about that item. So I can see for the admin building, there's a risk form that is filled, that has been filled in, and there's a document linked to that. If I go to the ground floor, for example, you see there's a functional requirement defined for that floor, and there's two documents about that floor. One is about decoration, one is about structure. So it's a completely new way of structuring your information. It also allows you to quickly add information to the right spot in your project. So in the old way, I had to go to the forms and fill in the right form. Now I can just say I'm on this level, I have another functional requirement. Well, I add a record and I can fill in. I have a requirement about the furniture, fill in some name, save, and we have an extra record on this level. So that's quite easy to fill in all your requirements, risks, whatever data you want to link to that information. One more short thing about administration. So these icons only appear when you have access to that part. So here I'm an administrator, so I have the admin icon. So you see here is where I define the structure of the project. This has been very much focused on user friendliness. So for example, if I want to add a folder at any level, I have an add new folder where I can just fill in a name and create a new folder, or I can drag some folders around if I'm not happy about the order. It's just as simple as that. This is also where you define your users. There's no limit on the number of users, and you can put your users in roles, basically groups, but we call it roles because you enter the project in a certain role, like engineer, architect, and so on. And then you have the folder access, which is probably the most important one for setting up your project. And you see all folders again, and you see all possible access rights. So it starts by just viewing a folder. You can download, add, and so on. And you see that for a certain role. So now almost everything is on for the administrators. If I switch to interior design, for example, you see they don't have access in this place, but they have all access in that place, for example. Now if they call up and they say, I immediately need access to the pictures, well, it's a cloud system, so I can just change this, save, and it's active immediately. He just needs to refresh his browser and he has access to this extra folder. I can set it up, for example, he can download everything, but he can only edit and delete his own files. So you have a small granularity here to define if they can do anything to all files or only to their own files. There's much more here, but this is just in a nutshell, an overview of the product. Let me just say that there's a trial button on the website, so anyone who wants to try this and try out all the other features, just click on Create Trial and try it out.
Thank you.